Welcome to The Alignment Show, featuring conversations with folks who have taken steps to identify their highest values and align their lives around them. Time on this earth is not unlimited, and you may be seeking to make sure you spend your time on things that matter to you. These conversations will encourage you and support you in doing so. Now, let's meet this week's guest on The Alignment Show. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this week's edition of The Alignment Show. I think this is episode 27. Didn't think to look about that before we came on, but it's somewhere around there, 27, 28. We've been going for a little while now. The average podcast only makes it to 7 episodes, so we have beat that statistic. So this week we will be talking with somebody I've known for a couple of years, but it seems like I've known him for a lot longer than that. He's just so connected with the speaking industry. Before we get to that, I want to remind you that our show is sponsored by me. That is aimed at the upcoming book, The Way of the 3-Year-Old Why. We're about 6 weeks away from releasing. So want to make sure that you know how to connect. I've already got our guests crawl going there. So there's a couple of things here related. If you would like to keep up with things that are going on with this book, you can go to donking.com/3YO. That's the number 3 lowercase letters YO. And Don is with a double N. So donking.com/3YO. You can also get what I think of as a cheese sample. That is to get something that's in the same universe, get a sense of the writing by going to donking.com/brewing. No, it's not that kind of brewing. It has to do with coffee, but it's not a business fable the way that Way of the 3-Year-Old Why is, but it's written in the same style. It's just a good old complete short story, no cliffhangers. So you should enjoy that. In any case, our guest today, as I said, is somebody that I've known for, I think, a couple of years. I believe that Marty Dickinson was introduced to me by our mutual friend, Lois Kramer. Marty has built a number of businesses through speaking. And so let me tell you a little bit about his background. He is known as the business longevity guy, the president of Here Next Year, LLC, a 26-year business growth agency in Denver, Colorado. Marty works with business owners, CEOs, sales agents, and professional speakers as a chaperone. I like that term, a chaperone, to guide them through the maze of marketing, speaking, and writing. Marty's also the founder of the international weekly virtual event, Speakers Speak Live, and that's where I've connected with Marty in particular. That's a place where topic experts showcase their speaking content, get feedback for presentation improvement, and exchange speaking opportunities with other speakers. Now, Marty believes that life and business are a long series of pivotal moments. It's up to you to embrace those life-changing possibilities and profit from them. His method for doing so is documented in his most recent books, which we will show you and talk about a little bit later. It includes Lions Always Win, How to Spot What You Want in Business and Life and Get It Too. His most recent #1 Amazon bestseller is a specific version of that. Lions Always Win, How to Spot What You Want in Your Professional Speaking Business and Life and Get It Too. So without further mucking around, let's bring on camera our friend Marty Dickinson. Marty, welcome to the Alignment Show.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Don.
So glad we can finally get you on here. You tend to work, to my way of thinking, you tend to work a little bit behind the scenes. You are helping other people to be successful. And so it occurred to me a few weeks ago, we really ought to have Marty on here because I've had several of the folks that you work with on here talking about their life-changing events. And I want to know Marty's origin story. So, that's a lot of what we talk about here with the Alignment Show, people bringing their lives into alignment with their values. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, what got you started in what is arguably a very weird business? How did you most people don't start out to be speakers or writers, So what got you started?
Well, Don, I'm probably the least likely person that you would ever know to actually get into speaking, first of all, and to especially use speaking to build a business. My goodness. I mean, you look at some of these speakers and you think, well, of course that guy or that woman is a speaker. Of course they are. They're just so natural up there. And we both know. We both know so many speakers that are magicians, or they can, ride a unicycle, or they do some kind of miraculous thing on stage. And we're like, well, of course that person should be a speaker. But that was not me. No, no, no. I ran away from speaking at an early age. I was one of those stories where I had to give a book report in 6th grade and I didn't want to do it. The teacher made me do it anyway. And all I had to do was write my book report, literally write on a piece of paper and read the darn thing. And when I tried to stand up in front of the class and read, I was just shaking so hard I couldn't even read my own handwriting. So I had to stand there and pretend like I was reading, but paraphrase my book report. And I just cringed. And the whole class was laughing the whole time. They knew what was going on. I wasn't fooling anybody. And so I sat down and I was like, I never, ever want to do that again. So I went through my entire of high school and almost all of college without ever having to give any presentation from the beginning of the room. In fact, when I was in college, I was a marketing major. And in my toughest class, marketing research, which was all presentations, I saved it for the very last class. All I had to do is take this one class and I would graduate. And I saved it till the end because I was so petrified of speaking. Well, all the presentations were in teams. We had teams of 5, and we had to do a written project as well. And I said, hey guys, if you keep me off the stage so I don't have to present anything, I will do all the writing. And it worked. All I had to do was introduce myself and the team, and I sweat and had puddles next to me from all. I mean, it was just treacherous. So that was my beginning to speaking. And here, many, many years later, I discovered the path that broke me from that, and then found the importance of speaking for everyone. And I've been an evangelist of learning how to be a comfortable speaker, learning how to get to the point where speaking becomes a part of you so that you want to do it. It's one thing to just get good at speaking or to force yourself to do it so that you're competent enough. But to get to the point where you actually want to be in front of people and share your message is a whole different ballgame.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So maybe we'll go into some detail about that. But that's where it all started.
You and I could talk about speaking for hours, probably. So just for folks who are out there listening and thinking, well, that may be Marty, but that's not ever going to be me. What were you forced into the first actual professional stuff past college and then gradually discovered that you kind of enjoyed this, or was there a watershed moment? What happened there?
There were definitely a few of those early on. And, like I said, we're talking about pivotal moments here. I didn't really recognize these at the time, that they really were truly transformational moments that I could take advantage of if I only saw them coming, but I was so afraid of them. I just wanted to survive them. And that's really the difference. But when I graduated, I worked my way through college, but when I got my first corporate job out of school, I walked in on day one and my boss said, well, you've got 4 months to get ready for this. So I just want to give you plenty of time. I need you to fly down, I was in Pennsylvania at the time, I need you to fly down to Atlanta, Georgia, and present for 45 minutes our company to, to be a small group, about 600 people in our industry. No big deal. But you have 4 months. I'll help you with the slides, all this stuff. And I just kind of sat in my chair and I could just feel myself getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, my wife had just recently, like 2 weeks before this, she joined a Toastmasters club. And I went home and I was still shaking from the morning. It was 6 o'clock at night when I got home. I was still shaking just because of this event. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, well, why don't you come to Toastmasters with me? And it was funny because we didn't even have a meeting coming up because it was so close to Christmas, but we had the Christmas party. She said, it's not even a real meeting. It's just come to the Christmas party and you'll meet some of the people there and hang out. Maybe coming to a meeting after New Year's will be helpful for you. So they had a white elephant exchange that Toastmasters clubs typically do at Christmas get-togethers. And we had to talk about the gift that we picked up as the white elephant. So there were about 30 people sitting around, and I thought, uh-oh, I'm going to have to talk in front of this group. So here it comes all over again, all that energy, all that negative vibe, that negative energy. And I spoke about, I don't remember what the thing was that I picked up in this box, but I unraveled it, and you had to treat it like a table topic. So I talked about it for about a minute, and a crazy thing happened. People were laughing, not at me, but with me. They were laughing at what I was saying, and I thought, well, that's interesting. I've never had that experience before. What just happened there? So again, a pivotal moment that, I wonder what if. So I started visiting this club and I joined the club, and just kind of jumping forward here, 4 months later, I gave that presentation and I just nailed it. I mean, I hit it out of the park, and I had so much help in the process. I didn't even realize that was possible. So that was really the turning point. I mean, I was only 23 at the time, if I remember right. So I had a long period of time after that for things to develop, and it sure did take a long time to develop, and I'm still developing. This is something that you never stop developing.
Oh, really?
There's always room for improvement, but I at least had the question in my mind, what if I was to actually develop this thing and confront this lifelong tragic fear that I had early on?
That really puts you in a good position to help other people who are facing the same sort of thing. Now, the group of folks you tend to work with these days probably have already gotten not exactly past that stage. They may need to learn to think of the experience differently. You know, like I will tell folks, it's not fear, it's energy. You know, to learn to harness that feeling.
Right.
But still, that background gives you an ability to really help people. I've got 3 or 4 things trying to get out of my head here at the same time. You don't work exclusively with professional speakers. I think you have built at least one of your businesses by helping what we might think of as everyday business folks.
Right.
You speaking to market their businesses, because even in the National Speakers Association, they will talk about 7 different ways to make a living as a speaker, only one of which is getting paid directly a fee for getting up on stage and speaking. And so do you find, as you work with your business clients, that it just hasn't occurred to them how speaking can be a really engaging way to build your business, and it doesn't cost you anything except a little bit of time? Is there like a light bulb going on there?
Oh, well, absolutely. And my love for working with traditional business owners stems from my own. I mean, I launched my own website in 1996. After 6 months, that website got so much business from it on the day that my company, the company I was working for, offered me a promotion. I was sitting there right in the office of the VP of sales, and I said, sorry, but my website is making just about what you're offering me in this promotion after 6 months. If I just go full time with it, I know I'm going to be past this, and I really need to focus on that. So I'm going to resign. It was a great moment on the day of a promotion to resign, because my side hustle was making more than they were about to offer me. So from there, that's where speaking really started to accelerate. my business, because that's how I promoted the business. I would get on stages and promote the business, and people from that business started saying, well, how can you help me build my traditional business? Back then it was all about search engines, and this was all before even Google came around. So you really had to dig around to figure out how to use search engines to get traffic on a website, and trial and error and all these things. So I wound up helping and being a chaperone for people early on to say, well, this is what you need to do. So those became clients, and that became the agency. People started asking, well, we'd like to hire you, but how do we know that you'll be around in 6 months? I mean, that was the thing back then, and is today now. Still, some things never change, but the worry was that you'd hire a designer or a SEO person or a programmer or whatever, and that person would just be gone in 3 months. So I finally got tired of hearing that, and I called my company Here Next Year, and I haven't had that question since. Nobody asks that anymore. So that's a basic sales, right? Eliminate the question.
There you go.
That's how that all started, and I just really fell in love with sharing what I know. And one of my clients was an author, and she said, she was asking me about the process, because there is a process to building any business, and especially using internet marketing to do that, and using writing and using speaking. There's a process, and I found that all I had to really do was figure out what that process was that I was working over and over and over again, and put that into a sequence, and I could just figure out where you were in the process and plug you in to that sequence. And okay, and well, now let's talk about your resources. Who do you have in your team, and who do you need to hire out because you don't want to do the work, and all this kind of stuff. And one of my clients came to me, she said, so you do this the same for every client? You just have this process you take them through? Well, yeah, it just makes my life easier that way. And custom, everything's customized, of course. She said, well, Marty, you need to write a book. What? Write a book? I have no idea even what that means, but I mean, this was 2003, I think that was. And all this time I thought, write a book? Are you kidding? Well, she steered me to, again, somebody supporting me and providing me with a resource, right? There's a place here in town called Colorado Independent Publishers Association, SIPA for short. And she said, you should go to SIPA and they will teach you how to write your own book. And a couple of months later, Winning the Internet Dogfight Up There was born. And that was my very first book. Please don't try to go buy that. There's no, I think that's the last one in existence. And nothing in it is current anymore, I'm sure, because it was.
And you did not release, you didn't release that one as an ebook, right? I mean, that was
a printed spiral bound manual style book. Yeah. So it wasn't something you just read through. It's something you worked through. Yeah. And I sold it for $97 at my workshops. And this was way before Amazon, but somehow Amazon got it on there eventually. But so it was a manual that you bought as a result of the workshops that I started. So that's a whole additional pivotal moment there is believing, having someone else tell you need to write a book, and then you saying, huh, what, me? I mean, there's so many tools now with AI. Please don't be fooled by AI thinking that you're going to just go write a book in an hour and a half using all of what AI produces. AI is an amazing set of tools. I use AI every single day, even more than Google search now. But there is a point where you need to interject your own brains and experience in only the voice that you can supply. There's just a lot of things happening with that now. I just kind of had to throw that in for you, Don.
Oh yeah. And it's a significant sidebar, and we won't dwell on it, but we do want to throw out there. We frequently will hear among speakers, treat AI like your intern. It's a useful tool, but you're not going to turn your business over to your intern. You still have to be in charge. And as Joanna Penn says, we need to double down on being human, because that's the one thing we can bring to it that you can't just go out on the internet and get. So absolutely making use of those AI tools to maybe do the grunt work, but there's something only you can bring to it. And so this is the opportunity to bring yourself to it and truly differentiate yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
And differentiation is important, and a book helps. A book helps,
mm,
but it's really only a piece of the pie. I always believe that internet marketing and writing and speaking all work together. And if you're a
mm,
business owner, if you're thinking about becoming a business owner of any kind, if you leave any one of those three out of your mix, you are leaving serious money, and not only money, but just opportunity off the table. I mean, you're just leaving it on the table. We want to get that off the table. Pull it back.
oh yeah. Well,
so,
and one of the
so
things I
really,
know about you, one of your businesses, you will help people who have a book inside them
mhm.
to get it out. You know, you want to talk about that a little bit about what you were long before AI. You're certainly not replacing AI. Neither is AI replacing you.
Right.
I think your process is fairly unique in helping somebody to get that book out there. So, give us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, there is a challenge I have with writing, and I'm not unique in this aspect. And that is that when I write something, I beat it to death. It takes forever for me to get through a paragraph because I type it, and if I don't sit there for 30 minutes first with a blank screen in front of me, I'll type the paragraph and then I'll read it and then I'll rework it. It just takes forever. When I wrote my first web marketing all-in-one for dummies book, that's how I wrote that book. 980 pages of it. I have the first 200 pages because it's a multi-author book, but I wound up having to stay up on Sunday night all night for every chapter. I started working on the book at 9 o'clock at night. I'd make a big pot of coffee. I'd have 2 to 3 pots of coffee that night. And I would wait until the Sunday before I had to submit that chapter as the deadline to Wiley, or they'd kick me out of the book. And the reason I had to do that was urgency. It was the only way I could force myself to create on typing on screen what I needed to submit. It's a terrible place to be in when you have to have that kind of pressure to produce material. So I thought, my goodness, I know I want to write more books, but if it's going to be this much agony to create and I have to stay up all night to do it, I've got to figure out a different way and a faster way and something that produces even better content. So that's what my wife and I worked on for a couple of years. We produced our own books, and I got it to the point where I could churn out the original content for a book in under 2 weeks. And we did that verbally. We set up this process, and I would go out at 4 o'clock in the morning and walk around the streets of my neighborhood, and my wife would be on a phone connected to me, and she'd ask me questions, and I would simply respond to these questions. And I mean, this is really nothing new. People have been recording, talking into recorders for years and making books out of them, but it was the method that we put together to really get to the deep senses of your brain. We called it a flow state. Like when if you've ever been in running, for example, or when you were a kid and you had gym class and they forced you to run a mile and you were tired at first, but then all of a sudden something kicked in that allowed you to get through that mile, and that's called the runner's high, where you don't want to stop. You just want to keep going. And that's what we call the flow state. So we designed a way to get to that inner content in your brain that's deep embedded in there. You don't have to research anything. You know this stuff. So we have this sequence that we've brought people through for years, and we still do this on occasion. But Don, I'm announcing to you that the typical model of what you experienced with that business is no longer active. What we're doing is rolling that into an online, I'm not really sure even what to call it. Most people would say it's an online course, but it's more than that, because this is an online do. It's not, again, it's not something you just kind of read through or watch, or that was a fun video. No, you go through step by step, and I command and you do. and you go through this process where I'm still getting you into this flow state. So that is just on the verge of release. I'm hoping for right after Labor Day that will be available. So we're calling it the method in you. The method in you.
Sounds
So
intriguing.
And that's what's really key, is that if you're going to showcase yourself as an expert in your field and you want to get into speaking, you want to build your business, that's a great way to do it, is to demonstrate your method. Go in front of audiences and say, here are, now there are 5 steps to this process. And step 4 and 5, that's to really hit it out of the park. We really need to showcase, while I'm on stage with you in this brief 45-minute time or an hour or 30 minutes, whatever you have, we're just going to talk about the first 3, because we really just need to get you started with this. And one of those steps we're going to actually have you do. So you're already a piece of the way through the process, and then you'll understand why this process works so well. So that's what we start out with, is helping you to figure out what that process is, because a lot of business owners, they're the best in the world at what they do, but it's so repetitive, they don't even know what their own process is. So you got to figure out what that true method is that only you can produce. And we call that your gem, your genuine expert method. And the gem is where the money's at.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is, it makes a lot of sense. It's exciting to know this is coming. Want to be sure, since you're not quite ready to release it yet, I'm going to put up on the screen here, and for folks who are on audio only, we'll say it out loud. But we've got a QR code up here from Marty on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is one of the best ways to get in touch with Marty, because he knows everybody, so it's really good to be connected to Marty. And for those of you who are on audio only, you know how to get to LinkedIn. Look for Marty Dickinson. That's Dickinson. He will have a dot in front of his name. And this is something that he and I both learned from Richard Bliss. If you set up your LinkedIn and put a dot in front of your name, you can immediately spot those spammers out there who are just sending, because they will say, "Good afternoon, dot."
Oh man, it's amazing they haven't figured out that. Yeah. That's why we do that. It's like, really, you can't put that in your bot that's going out to thousands of people.
Absolutely. And then I also have, let me get the QR code off there. I've got, where did I put it? Here is Marty's website in the ticker down there, herenextyear.com. I love that name. I always love hearing you tell the story of where the name came from. So again, those of you on audio only, you can go to herenextyear.com. And I'm thinking, I want to show your website as it is right now, because you haven't released the new thing, but this would get folks into one of your efforts here. So let's see, share screen. Oh, this is like running a starship. Here we are. Okay, let's see if that looks right. Yeah. Okay. Can we get that a little bigger? No, this is the way to do it. Okay.
Now, just to explain this a little bit, Don, for your audience, this is not the home page of the Here Next Year website. It's one of the secondary pages. And if you go to getspeakingnow.us, that's why I wear this shirt when I'm on podcasts. For those who are able to view, they'll always see this URL. Getspeakingnow.us. This will take you to this page. And the reason I like to feature this page is because whether you are a professional speaker now, or you have never even thought about creating a presentation for yourself to present your business to anybody, meaning you've never given a speech before, you've never had any desire to get on a podcast or in front of people at all, I suggest you go to this page, because there is a sequence to approaching speaking to build your business. And the funny thing is, Don, when I first actually joined Toastmasters, the place where I found the most, when I started my business, I'm just kind of putting those two together here. The place where I found the most immediate reward was on the phone with people. Just talking to people. I started listening to what the heck I was saying, and it wasn't good. So as I developed in speaking, I started listening to myself and making those changes. If for nothing else, start getting involved with speaking and learning so that you're basic communication skills develop as well. So that's why I suggest, even if you've never had the intention of getting involved with speaking, visit this page. And it's something I'm building out over time. I'm going to have more resources in there, but I'm a big believer of just supplying resources. And by the way, Don, for your book, you should put that into a Facebook group that I have called the Book Launch Connection.
I'm in there. Yeah.
Great. So start really talking it up as we get closer to the time. The people who are involved in that group are people who love being involved in book launches. So they'll join your book launch team. They'll help you get to #1 Amazon bestseller. Again, just a resource. I'm just delivering there. I have all kinds of resources I just love to send people to. There's no opt-in for this. Just go to that page, bookmark it, and just kind of keep going back, and I'll be announcing things that are added to it. But you need to have resources and some kind of a guide that you latch onto over time. That's what I've found out. I mean, I have all kinds of mentors I've followed for years and years, and I watch what they do, and that's coming out in the industry here. I better really do some research on that and find out more. So everybody really needs to find those types of people in their lives that are going to be there next year.
Absolutely. In fact, one of our regular listeners, and she was our guest here last week on the Alignment Show, Peg Duchesne, has commented here, already sent the connection request. And I really wanted to emphasize this. Love your story. I mean, we could do a whole episode, you and I, just on storytelling and using story to get your ideas across. So as I look at the clock, we are starting to wind up here, and I haven't dug into half the stuff I wanted to ask you about here. That's the way it always goes. But folks, I want to encourage you to reach out to Marty. We showed the website there. Let's also just briefly at least show the where did I go? It's that button right there. And then share a new one. Okay, I want to show you his book here. I think he held it up a little earlier. There's 2 different covers, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and
both related.
Yeah, same content. And this is the one that would be of interest to anybody. But then there's also the Lions Always Win for speakers. So just a lot of good, solid information.
Can I give you another little pivotal moment here? Because there's a reason why that book was produced. It actually started 5 years before I ever started writing the book. We were deep into our agency. I had almost 14 people at one point on staff, and we were just trudging forward. It was just we were one summer we had to take the phone literally off the hook because we were so busy we couldn't take on new clients. It was like that kind of madness. It was great, and yet my blood pressure was always so high. But we really needed to streamline our processes. And one of the things that I found was how difficult it was to really figure out what our new clients wanted us to help them with. They'd come to us and say, well, we really need a new website, or we want to be on top of Google for search, whatever it was kind of like that. I was like, well, that doesn't really help me. I mean, some people would say, well, I have no idea what I want. You're the guy to go to. Just go make me $1 million, whatever it takes. It's like, no, I can't do that alone. I need you to partner with me. I need your alignment. Speaking of alignment, right? And I had to come up with a sequence that I could find out exactly what these people really wanted. Like for a speaker, for example, a new speaker will come to me and say, well, I want to be a professional speaker. And then my first question will say, well, how many times do you want to be on stage next year? And then there's this silence. And I'll just wait, and they'll say 150. Okay, so are you married? Yeah. How many kids do you have? 4. Well, are you the baseball coach of your kids' baseball team? Oh yeah, I love being baseball. I'm the head coach. Well, okay, you need some balance here, because if you're going to be away for 150 days of the year, and and family is really important to you, then we need to rework those numbers. And I had to come up with a system for this, because I found that as I asked the question, what do you want? 95, maybe even more percent, maybe even 98% of those people had no clue how to answer that question. Really no clue. So we have to start there. I started making this process before it was ever a book. It was a prerequisite. I said, here, I'm going to send something to you, and I need you to complete this before I can even give you a quote. I have no idea what we're going to do for you, but fill this out, and then I'll have my answer. That's what turned into the book. So if you are, and it's not just for people looking for services, but that's why I had to have two books, because the original Lions Win book was for traditional business owners and people in corporate America who were just at their jobs and they wanted to get a promotion or they wanted to get a new job. Heck, I've had people read that book. There was one person I got an email from that said, I went through this book and I work in corporate sales and I was going through this whole thing. And you know what came out of it is the thing that I really, really wanted to do? He said, I proposed to my fiance of 6 years.
Oh, wow.
I finally proposed. And that, I mean, it brought, I can't even say it. It almost brought tears to my eyes when I read that, because I had no idea it would have that kind of power to take all these things and experiences that people wanted in their lives to bring it all together and figure out what it really was that they truly wanted. So it's not just about what you want, but it gives you the whole process for true action steps for getting what you want. And it's okay to get. It's okay to get things. We're brought up in this world to think that we're not supposed to want or even strive to get anymore, but it is okay. You just need to find out why that's okay for you. And that the book walks you through that as well. So the original book was that more generic version of that process, and then the customized version for people that are wanting to get into speaking as well. So two different books, same main process.
And well worthwhile having both books. So I want to, this is something I'll say to you right now, Marty, and then for folks listening to know this is coming up. You've got a gathering coming up here before long. I've missed it for several weeks just because of being tied up myself. But we mentioned the Speakers Speak Live group. It meets at noon on Wednesdays. And let me see, where did I put that? I actually have it down here on the screen, speakersspeaklive.com. Folks, like Marty says, whether you've ever thought of yourself as a speaker or not, this group has newbies. It has people who've been speaking professionally for over 30 years, everybody helping everybody. It's a great way of developing skills that if you never step on a stage, it's still going to help you to communicate more effectively. So I would encourage you to check it out. The thing I wanted to say to you, though, Marty, is you've got so many resources. There's going to be a lot of links that we will want to share in our show notes. I'm going to put the QR code for the show notes up on the screen here, folks. You can always go to confidencecultivators.com. And Marty, I know you've got that noon meeting. I think you've got meetings after that. But if you can sometime this afternoon, just send me an email with links that you would like to refer people to. Then we can get those in the show notes. Okay. It's more than what we can mention while we're on the air right here. But folks, get those show notes and you're going to find all kinds of useful stuff for you in your business and your life. I love what Marty was just saying about not just changing business, although business is life. They're not separate. Okay. But it just affects so many other things. This ability to communicate and get down to your own values.
And it's all about action. I mean, you hear this from every speaker who gets on stage: take action, take action, take action. Well, I finally got sick of the saying, and I had to figure out who is this action person? Well, he's right there. That's action. It's from my book cover. It's my mascot. I use action in every presentation I give. Next time you find yourself procrastinating, remember that face and take action. It's a sticky thing. I mean, people will see me speak, and 3 months later, they'll come to me and say, I can't remember what you talked about, but you're the guy with the dog, right? So it works, but the point has been true. That's the one thing that has been the same for the 26 years that I've been in business, and certainly far longer than that, is that you need to take action in a sequential set of steps, doing the right thing at the right time. And sometimes that does require having a chaperone. And that is what I love to do the most. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, you talk about all these resources you'll provide. Resources or needs are different for everybody. Just hit me up with a question and direct message. I answer all my direct messages. I'm very open that way. And I'll be happy to say, oh yeah, well, you should check this out, check this out, check this out. I love doing that. I don't charge for that. Maybe I should, but I just love the communication and connecting. Beyond everything, I am simply a connector.
Absolutely. I got to say, every time you say that about take action and you point to the dog, I just imagine you coming out of your front door and there's somebody driving off with your dog, like, boy, wait, take action. I don't mean that.
Right.
Oh,
that's the first question everybody has. Is that your dog? No. It just was on the book cover. We turned that into a mascot. It wasn't even the plan originally. It just kind of evolved into that. So, but it worked. So if you have any way of coming up with a mascot for your business that you can be identified with through your branding, that's a great way to go. And it is sustainable. It provides longevity for you over time. Again, I've been using this for goodness since 2004, since the book came out.
So in a way, you took action.
Right.
It wasn't your dog.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm twisted sense of humor. Well, Marty, we are a little bit over time at this point. Let me encourage folks to go check out really any of these links we've been sharing, because they all lead back to herenextyear.com. Connect with Marty. You're going to want to know Marty. And I appreciate so much, Marty, you coming on the show. I think you exemplify our whole idea of living your values in order to value your life. If you'll hang out in the green room for just a second so I can properly thank you, I'll bid folks goodbye for this week and let you know that next week we have coming up one of those star guests, as far as I'm concerned. All of my guests are stars, but some are better known than others. John David Mann is a well-known author. Now, you may not recognize his name, but he's been involved in a lot of high-profile projects. He's the co-author of The Go-Giver. He has worked with some of the best-known names in the industry. He and Navy SEAL Brandon Webb have a series of thrillers out that are doing quite well. And so we're going to be able to talk with John David Mann, and I think his wife, Anna Gabriel, his wife, Anna Gabriel, about how they have brought their lives into alignment with their values. So we're looking forward to that next week. In any case, we need to wrap up this week's edition of the Alignment Show. Glad that you could be here with us this week. And remember to take those steps. As Marty said, take action to live your values and value your life. That's it for this week's episode of The Alignment Show. What has it inspired you to do in your own life? Whatever it is, take action now and take the first step. It will help you to talk with a friend about what you're thinking. Share confidencecultivators.com to spread the goodness. And remember to live your values and value your life. We will see you next week on The Alignment Show.